That is on the Guru Yoga Ganden Lha Gyama. So, the Guru Yoga Ganden Lha Gyama, as it says here, so it's the same as we have discussed past few days that we must cultivate the motivation first. So we have to have same motivation that we did during those initiation days, and so we must cultivate, remind ourselves about the Buddhi mind, and then within being mindful in that, and then we must discuss on the prayer. So before that, maybe, of course, and then also you must think about the old different steps, right, from the beginning to the state of Buddhahood. How to get there? We must be able to visualize and think about those points, because without the first step, you can't get to the second step and third step and final step. So we all have to be aware of all those points, very important. Okay, and then as far as Guru Yoga is concerned, it is actually when there's no Guru Yoga in Sutrayana tradition, and also this Hinayana tradition. It is always in Tantrayana tradition, the Guru Yoga. And in Tantrayana tradition, as you might be aware that unless you receive the empowerment, you cannot practice any kinds of Tantrayana practice. But this Ganden Lha Gyama is an exception. So in our Virupa tradition, so everybody practices Ganden Lha Gyama. Right from the beginning, the monks, when they were 5 years or 6 years or 7 years, they already memorized the Ganden Lha Gyama, and then they pray. They say this. They chant the prayer. So this tradition is there. So you don't need to be initiated in order to practice this Guru Yoga. And this Guru Yoga is very effective particularly to increase wisdom. You know, the wisdom. You know what is wisdom? There are many different levels of wisdom. When we talk about wisdom, you must know what we are talking about. What you must know that. You know what is wisdom. So actually, in Tibetan word, it is sherab. Sherab is she means understanding. You know, rab means the best. So kind of supreme understanding. So the good understanding. So sometimes it refers to our intelligence. You know, you say intelligence or intelligence? Intelligence. You know, it refers to intelligence. But yes, it is also to do with intelligence. But intelligence, two kinds, you know. So one intelligence can lead you to wrong way, and the other one can lead to the right way. So you know, there is, in the world, there are so many people who are very intelligent, but they are doing the wrong thing. For example, the terrorists. Terrorists, they are intelligent. They are intelligent in how to attack and so forth, how to destroy. So they go wrong way. They go the wrong way. So that but that is not not wisdom. Okay, that is not a sherab. That is not the supreme or the good intelligence. So to develop wisdom, then we need actually help from the guru or different deities. There are, in Sutrayana also we have deities, and in Mahayana, in Tantrayana also the different deities, how to improve your wisdom. But Manjushri is the main deity, the main wisdom deity. So relying on Manjushri, then you can develop the right wisdom within yourself, right intelligence within yourself. That will lead you to the right way. So that is very important for us. So in order to get the right wisdom, you need enough merit. So if you don't have enough merit, even if you increase your intelligence, it will lead to wrong way. That is well possible. Even if you are practicing Dharma, still it is well possible. Because I think there are stories. We have so many scholars in Tibetan tradition. Sometimes they're great scholars, but then their intelligence go slightly in wrong way. So they can explain, they can tell, they can talk and teach about the Buddha teachings, but they themselves don't practice. So the wisdom went in wrong way, so it doesn't benefit him. So since it is not benefiting himself, him or herself, then it cannot benefit others. You can teach, you can talk you can talk well in universities, teach the students very well, but students cannot be benefited in the way, Dhamma way. They also might become like the teacher, all up here, not here. So the understanding of Dhamma has to be in the heart, not in the brain up here. So it has to be here. So the academic, intellectual things, that all are here, not here. So the intellectual thing is always up here in the brain, not in the heart, down here. Isn't it? Okay. So to get the understanding in the heart, we have to rely on the proper deity, wisdom deity. And if you can put that wisdom deity together with your guru, then it becomes even more powerful, and then in a faster way, and so forth. So that is one advantage for us to practice Ganden Lha Gyama, this practice. So before that, as I just reminded you, we all must think about the steps to the enlightenment. And then I would like to discuss a few things, because one of my friends the other day asked me a question, and then I think I thought I will discuss this with all of us together, so that maybe some of you also might be thinking in that way. Who knows? So one of my friends asked me a question that was like we are talking about karma in Buddhism. And so when we talk about if you accumulate bad karma, then you go to hell. If you accumulate good karma, then you go to heaven. So that kind of discussion is there. So then my friend says it is like Christianity. So Christianity also they talk about sin and what they talk about, I don't know, the opposite of sin, I don't know what they call it. But then you don't do sin, you don't commit sin. If you commit sin, then you will go to hell. They also say that. So it seems similar. So actually in the West, the translators, the translators who translate Tibetan into English, they also struggle the word for non-religious actions, because if you use the sin, maybe similar, but then they get the thought of the Christian sin. So when you talk about Christian sin, then that is that word is not liked by the people over there. They don't like that word. So translators were struggling which word we should use. So sometimes we use non-versus actions, and sometimes we use destructive actions. So, and then they are not comfortable with the word religion also, because they hate religion, because they hate Christianity in the West. Because the Christianity deteriorated and Christianity was misused in the West in big way. So many people, particularly who were brought up in 1970s, 80s, they don't like these words, the words used by Christianity. So religion is like a dictator. Like, you know, you must believe in God. If you don't believe in God, you'll go to hell. So like that, it's just like a dictator. They don't like these words, and they don't like the religion, the word religion. So somehow there are similarities if you look at the how do you say, shallow on that. If you don't go deep, sometimes it looks similar. So clarification is very important. If you know already, then you don't need clarification. But many people, they may not know. So what is karma? To know about karma is very difficult. It is not an easy subject. It's a very difficult subject. When we talk about, like, if you do good action, you will get good result. To some extent, we can understand that. You know, if you help others, even in our worldly way, if I help you, then you think you also feel you owe me. So sometimes you would like to help you. So if I harm you, then the other party also thinks this is a bad man. I want to hit back. I want revenge. You know that is quite normal. So bad action brings bad result. Good action brings good result. That much we can understand. But if you go deeper, and then particularly if you go about the rebirth and next life, and then next life, what will be hell, heaven, then it becomes very complicated. So one thing is that Buddha said, what Buddha said, monk or a wise man, whosoever you are, you must check my words. Don't take it merely I said. don't take it merely. Buddha said that. No, you check my words. As the goldsmith checks the gold by cutting the gold and then rubbing the gold and then burning the gold. There's 3 ways how to check if it's a real gold or not. Similarly, you check my words. And then if you think this is reasonable, this is logical, this is true, then you take it. So Buddha said that. But in other religion and particularly Christianity, there is no word like that. If God says, you must believe in that, right? Yeah. If you don't believe what God says, if you analyze, then you're committing sin, right? So that isn't there. So Buddha himself very clearly said that. And Buddha also said, I cannot wash your sins or non-virtual actions, whatever, I cannot wash it like you wash your stained, dirty clothes. You cannot wash it. Buddhas cannot wash your bad actions. And your sufferings that Buddhas cannot remove from you by his hands. And the Buddhas cannot transfer their realizations, their good qualities into you. The Buddhas cannot transfer that to you. And what Buddha can do is, Buddha can only show the way to enlightenment. And then, whether you go in that way or this way, that's up to you. The Buddhas cannot do anything, right? And then also, when you take refuge in 3 jewels, we go for refuge in 3 jewels. But what is the real refuge? That is Dharma. So Dharma has to be produced within yourself. This is not Dharma. All the books that we have, they are not the real Dharma. They are the representative of Dharma. They are the symbol of Dharma. But they are not the real Dharma. Real Dharma, you have to produce within yourself. How you produce within yourself? You practice, and then you get realizations. When you get the realizations, then you will not fall in the ocean of suffering. So you will be liberated. So that is when we talk about the 3 jewels, the real jewel is to be produced within yourself, by yourself. So Buddhas cannot transfer. Buddhas cannot, maybe Buddhas can help by, teaching you, how, Buddhas can guide you how to get that, because Buddha himself got them so he can guide you. But ultimately, you have to work on it. If you don't work on it, you will not get the Dharma within yourself, and then you cannot be free from suffering. So when we talk about 3 jewels, that also depends on you. So 3 jewels, the real 3 jewels, it has to come within yourself, not out there, So we talk about Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. So they all, Buddha, when you become Buddha, then the real refuge of Buddha you have received. When you get realizations within yourself, then the real Dhamma, the refuge Dhamma, that you have got within yourself. And when you become Arya, then you become the real Sangha. So that is when we say Buddha Dhamma Sangha, that the resultant Buddha Dhamma Sangha and causal Buddha Dhamma Sangha, that we two types we talk about Buddha Dhamma Sangha. That also we should know that. And then we talk about karma, right? When we talk about karma and the cause and effect, so the real the total meaning of karma is very difficult to understand, but then we can have certain kind of understanding. That is cause and effect. That we can see the external cause and effect system and internal cause and effect system. There are two things. And first we try to study about the external cause and effect system. And that we all, if we pay little attention, then you can get the understanding very easily. So everything is there should. If you want any result, there has to be causes. So even if you drink a cup of tea, there are so many causes to be met. If those causes and conditions are not met, you cannot get a cup of tea. And then a bowl of rice, and then clothes, and so many things. So, and then also, now when you think about, for example, I might have told you earlier that when a cup of tea, when we think about tea, so many causes, because there must be tea plant, right? So there must be a tea farm, right? And then you must pluck the tea leaves, and you need people who pluck the tea leaves, and then bring to the factory. And then in the factory there's a big process going to this machine, to that machine, and this machine, that, and dry, and then the crash, and then the dry, and then so it takes a lot of process, right? And then it has to be packed. It has to be packed, and then it has to be brought by truck, by cargo, air cargo, whatever, So there's, for example, if it is brought by a truck, then you need the truck. Then you think about the truck, how the truck come into existence. And then the iron, and the factory, truck factory, the owner of the truck factory, workers, laborers in the truck factory, and the iron, the mine, the mining of the iron get from the earth or resources, and that was brought to the factory, and then the laborers and the workers, they melt it and they put in whatever, so many process, and then so many things are involved, so many conditions and causes are involved, and then truck driver and the road. If there is no road, the truck cannot bring you the tea. So the road makers, the materials, how they. So if you think in that way, it's endless. And then all these cause and effects, conditions are met. When these are met, then the tea is available. And a cup of tea also need all these processes. So that is cause and effect system, right? So similarly, you think that the building, the car, the clothes, the food, the family, whatever you have got, whatever you are experiencing, the world, the universe, sun and moon. If there is no sun, nothing can grow. Okay? There is no water, nothing can grow. So all these causes to be met actually, and only then everything is possible. So cause and effect system. And this is nothing to do with the Buddha Dharma. This is a natural process. It is, I call it law of nature. So Whether you believe in Buddha Dharma or not, you have to believe in this system. So this is how it works. That's simply how it works. This is simply how it works. And we all have to accept that. So now, the question, another question is that that's true, the sun, moon, everything is there, and we all need all these things. Sun, moon, earth, world, people, the materials, everything, we need all these things. And who made it? And then the Christianity says the gardener. So we think it cannot be created by God. It is created by God. Then there are so many contradictions. Why? First of all, the question: why God created human beings, animals, and then if He created human beings, why He created poor people, sick people? And they say the God, how do you say, God punish. If you don't listen to me, then God punishes. Right? So you get sick. But why God punish? If you want to punish us, you should have not created us. Isn't it? So if you think that way, it doesn't fit properly. It becomes illogical. So we think the creation of God is not true. So in the world, there are so many major religions, but Buddhism and Jainism in one part of Hinduism kind of, we don't believe in the Creator. So since we don't believe in Creator, so how things came into exist? And then we say everything, all the compositional phenomena, they all came into exist because of cause and effect system. And cause and effect system is endless and beginless. So you don't need a creator. You don't need a creator. So this cause has that cause, this result has this cause, and that has that cause, and this is beginless because we cannot find the beginning. So the Buddha says it's beginless because Buddha didn't see the beginning. If you see beginning, then there must be a creator. First time it came to exist because somebody created that. But it is beginless. Cause, result, cause. So there is no creator. It is only the cause and the effect system. So now we see some kind of cause and effect system, right? That is karma, what we call it. So then similarly, internal karmic system. That is what we think, thoughts. So when we think something, we project something, and that is an action. So if there is an action, there has to be a reaction. Action, reaction. That is the natural. Naturally it happens. So the action, we are thinking sometimes we think good things, sometimes we think bad things. So that is action. So that action, there has to be a reaction. So the reaction is the result. So the result, reaction, how strong the reaction is, that depends on how strong your action is. So strong. If you have a strong action, then there will be a stronger result. If you have a weaker action, then there will be a weaker result, And then one other thing that I would like to share with you, I might have shared with you earlier. In speaking, someone asked me that I am reciting mantras, I am praying to three jewels, still I am suffering. I'm doing good actions, she told me, and still I am suffering. So what is it? Because I'm not getting the result, So I say that it is not you're suffering, you're sick, you're ill, you're not so fortunate, you have this kind of trouble. That is not because of your actions that you have actions of prayer and reciting mantra and believing in three jewels. No, it is a different thing, because I told her, you look at our butcher. There's a butcher, Indian butcher, in our town, small town, Kaza. The people who have gone to Spiti, they know Kaza. You know Kaza? Yeah. So that town, there's a butcher. Every day he kills at least 7 to 8 sheep and goats. So that is, and we have seen that since we were very young. And then I said, we have seen that, the butcher, and he was getting wealthier, he was very successful in the worldly things. First he wasn't that rich, but slowly he bought land in his native place. He built a big house, and then he bought cars. Now his son is doing the job, and they are also getting. A son bought a car. Father